and Mr. Andrew Davey. Please welcome them all.
Let me start with Andrew. Andrew actually came from coaching as well as a trainer. So he's actually focusing more on the change management. Share your thoughts on this topic.
Congratulations.
Firstly, thank you everyone for the opportunity. I'm from the same place as Galen, I heard before, Western Australia, beautiful place, but now here in Singapore, an even better place, am I right? So thank you for the opportunity to be here. So the element that I love to share when I see as, when it comes to project managers, from an opportunistic point of view, I see it's something that we've all been discussing today, something the other speakers have been speaking specifically on, and I love to share that word empathy and highlight the word empathy again. I only have 5 minutes, so perhaps I'll share just a really brief story just to highlight this. There's a large semiconductor industry company we do some work for here. I sat down with the chief of staff, and one of the most phenomenal stories he shared, been with the company 25 years, he shared the journey of culture, the transformation that he's noticed, specifically for PMs. And one of the things that he suggested and shared in this story was, it's the typical scenario of you're given a project, right? You're given budget, here's your parameters, this is what you need to do. You're aware of stakeholders, but whether that awareness extends to empathy is the question I want to plant in the seed of everyone's mind. So they had this task, and that was we were going to automate the taking of these boxes to a conveyor belt. From the conveyor belt, they're put onto the conveyor belt, and then the processing happens. I don't know semiconductor industry specifically, so I don't know exactly what happened, but it was a case of taking boxes, emptying them out onto the conveyor belt, process begins. Now what happened was, project manager was given the task. The task was, create automation for this process. There's your budget, there's your track, there's your target. So they did, and they did it phenomenally well, to the point where it come time to test the automation, the process. So as they tested, they had one corner of the warehouse, so a huge warehouse. One corner they sectioned off for this robot, and it worked perfectly well. It took everything, huge load, 30 kilos plus of all of this product that they use. The arm would come out, it would drop it onto the conveyor belt, and the process would begin. But they forgot one thing, and that was stakeholders. Stakeholders were the GEs, the general employees that are working in these roles. So what happened was they tested it, it worked beautifully, it was going to do 5,000 per hour, or all the parameters of things that they had as KPIs to gauge this. And one of the challenges was, by not making them aware, you can imagine what was being whispered in each other's ears. Here we have people going, these things are going to take our jobs. So the empathy of stakeholders, not just awareness, was never communicated to the people. Now the phenomenal thing happened when they sent this thing out. And they were fingers crossed, everything worked well, we've tested it, it works fantastic. And then they noticed, because they measured, that in the first month it produced less than the human beings did. So they scratched their heads. And you can see I've been doing that quite considerably over the years. They scratched their heads and said, what went wrong? Now what they realised then was, these general employees were blocking the robots. They were standing in front of the path of them to prevent them from doing their job. And of course then the robot would reset 45 seconds, then it would get its bearings, and then it would continue on the path. When they realised this, they went, and I won't say the swear word, but they went, we forgot to mention to the people, don't they see that this is going to help them? Because now it's taking away the 30% of their role. That's what project managers do, is create opportunities for others. It's taking that 30% off them. That's the heavy lifting. That's the thing they can now focus on, the 100% of that 70% they needed to do. So they communicated the empathy, they brought them all together, and they explained the benefits. These robots are going to take away that, not your job, but they're going to support you in this journey. So I'll really quickly finish the story because it's so funny what happens today. These same robots now are called buddies. Now what happens is, when it's emphasised that these things are here to support and help, and we as project managers are going to support and help you to do your job even better, faster, more efficient, and for longer periods of time, because now you don't have the load on your body. When all of those things were communicated with empathy, what then happened was, every time something goes wrong with one of these robots, they're on the phone. Hey, my buddy's got a problem, there's a flashing light. These things are embraced. And that's through empathy that project managers were able to support the embracing of automation. And that's where I believe the biggest opportunity lies for PMs. It's to have empathy for stakeholders and the awareness of who all of those stakeholders are. I guess to pass on to this amazing man, and we had some incredible conversations before, just a wealth of knowledge. There's so many things when I share in this story that obviously the end project managers are affected, because then you have customers outside. Stakeholders can be internal and external. So I feel this man has a lot to offer in that. So I'll pass it on.
Okay, next question.
Yeah, hello, yeah. It was pretty much the same topic.
Maybe you can say your name and identify yourself, say your name. You are from?
Zina Boucher.
Okay.
SPMI. So it was pretty much the same topic because we were talking a lot about this disruptive technology in PM profession. And so it's pretty much scary because we're thinking about what are the company doing to help people transition to these new technologies and help them to be more confident in their job, daily job. Yeah. So how the company are basically dealing with this disruptive technology and helping PM to build their future.
Okay, to prepare for the future role. What are you talking about? Is it? Yeah. What organization has been doing for the project manager to prepare and handle such kind of projects, which is more on the technology disturbance project?
Yes.
Just to add on, I agree. When it comes to leadership, I think the most important thing is also communicating that. So my opinion, it always comes top down. And when it's top down, giving the message of why are we doing this? What does success specifically look like? We can have KPIs, but where are we going? And specifically selling the vision of why we're doing this, it makes the output so much easier, and then gives the PMs the power to communicate that message, to bring everyone on board.
So define the objective clearly.
Correct. Yeah, define specifically what success looks like. Okay. And that needs to be communicated from the top. That's my belief.
Okay, I think we're just running out, so we'll just have two more questions, one from this Mr. and one from this gentleman.
Hi, my name is Ben Bream with Space Matrix. So we're a design company. We recently worked with...
And a golf partner of mine.
Yes, I know I always lose to you, unfortunately. And we recently did a transformation with Prudential Insurance. So we took them from their very traditional old way of working into an agile environment in the same building as PwC at Marina One. Now, that was very successful for many reasons, but one of them was that the CEO was a new CEO that came on board, and when he moved into their existing office, he was on half a floor of his own big suite of offices, and he said, this is not the culture that we want to show. So he moved himself down to the customer service centre on level 1 and said, I'm going to sit here and I'm working with you. So it's similar to the other gentleman's question in terms of, he showed the leadership and it was successful because of that. Can there be a successful change to an agile environment without that top-level management? And it can be, even if a CEO supports it, maybe some of the other generals are not supporting it, and can you overcome that to make it successful?
It's a great question, by the way. We've only got a couple of minutes, so I'll be really brief. Some of my most valuable lessons and insights in culture have been before I even knew about the word. And if I think back to very, very early on when I started out my career, I remember one instance of top. This was not CEO, this was the GM. And he actually removed his door. We're talking 20, 30, 25 years ago. He literally had people remove the door from the office. Now, at the time, 20-year-old kid, I had no idea. Why the hell would you do that? But I realised the message that he shared, which he communicated very well, was, my door's always open to the point where we don't need it. And it was such a relationship you had with him that gave this openness. The culture in that place, if I look back now, it was very supportive. And I believe it's those little actions, not the one action. I'm not saying go all remove your doors now from your office, but it was those little actions that sent the message. And the message was, we're here for you, we're in this together. And so So I believe, to answer your question, I think initiatives like that, we hear about Google, we hear about the millennial environments that people work in now. They're doing it for a reason. I don't think it's because we're changing, I think it's we're evolving, and we're evolving to that way of thinking. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, everyone.